when I was probably in sixth grade. I was in a
Mm-hmm.
Sunday school lesson, and the teacher was teaching some Bible lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And I raised, at the end of the lesson, I raised my hand to ask a question about it. And
Yeah.
the Sunday school teacher looked at me super seriously, and he was holding a Bible in his hand. And he said, you asking me that question is the same as me doing this. And he took the Bible and he chucked it like full force against the wall. And he did this in front of everybody else, made an example of me. And I like really in that moment, like internalized, like, oh my gosh, like here I go again, like making the adults around me super angry. And like having cause to believe that my personality or, the things I speak up about cause problems.
Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Lion, and I believe that our greatest downfalls provide us with the kind of jet fuel we need to transcend to our greatness. In this episode, I am joined by Sarah Jane, who digs deep and shares the journey of her mental breakdown, the life circumstances leading up to that most pivotal moment of her life, and her healing journey. I am so honored to share space with Sarah Jane as she speaks from a place of deep emotional vulnerability that resonated down to my core. Come learn from Sarah and find solace in your own moment of darkness. I am super excited for today's episode with Sarah Jane. I'm not sure why I have this British accent, but you know what? I am feeling moved in this moment as we wait for Sarah Jane to join us. Today's topic is especially important to me because it has to do with our mental state, our psyche, and there she is. Hello!
Hey,
Hello, Sarah.
hi,
Jane, how's it going?
good. Are we really here? We're here. We're here.
We are. We are. Thank you so much for making the time to join.
You're welcome. I'm looking so forward to this. I think it's all happening at the right time.
Ah, and thank you so much to our audience for joining in the present and in the futures. We hope that Sarah Jane's story today moves you on a level that you didn't know before and inspires you in ways previously unimaginable. With that, Sarah Jane, would you be cool if I shared a quick introduction about
Yes,
you?
of course.
Fantastic. So, Sarah Jane grew up out east in the state of New York. She's one of five children, was labeled, in her own words, problem child. Grew up in an evangelical family and grew up in an environment where the church was the focal point of life. And she grew up in an environment which did not have a lot of encouragement, softness, that did not promote the value of emotional vulnerability. And these are things that we will explore as we get to know Sarah Jane deeper. Fast forward a number of years where Sarah Jane has a tragic incident that leads to a mental breakdown which shatters her world as she knows it. And today's topic is very near and dear to my heart because it resonates with my own story to a certain extent, and how Sarah Jane discovered deeper parts of who she really is as she puts herself back together as part of her healing journey, to come back stronger, more resilient, softer, and to serve as an inspiration to us all.
Wow. That all sounds fantastic and on point.
Thank you. Thank
Hey,
you.
thank you for an amazing introduction.
It's my pleasure, Sarah Jane. It's my
Aw.
pleasure. So why don't we begin by sharing with the audience, what is the story of how you and I met?
So we met at the Starry Plow. We met at their open mic, which, by the way, is every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Everybody that signs up gets to go.
Starry Plow in Berkeley.
In
Amazing joint.
On Shattuck, yeah. And, you know, it's cool because just like you, I have met a number of people that have become very important to me in my life on a musical level, on a social level, on a community level at the Plow. So you're part of a thing that never fails to introduce me to great folks. So yeah, we met at the open mic on a Tuesday, as you might expect. And I believe that you were a performer that night that I first met you. And as usual, I was hosting. So that's how we met.
Hell yeah. Thank you for that. And
Yeah.
here we are. I think it's been over a month, maybe 6-7 weeks, that we're finally on this platform together, bringing your story to life. So thank you for sticking through with it.
Yes, and thank you for putting up with all the craziness and busyness and new things that I'm currently going through to make the right date for this. Thank you.
Of course, it was all meant to be.
Yeah.
So I was able to share a bit of a snapshot about your childhood with our audience. Can we spend a little bit of time exploring that in a bit more detail?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your childhood, your parents, to set the stage for what's about to come.
Yeah, sure. What angle do you want to take?
Sure. So let's talk about, sort of your sort of parents and the environment. Let's start there. Your parents and the environment that they created that sort of developed your psyche, your identity, and some of the things that you felt you were lacking in that, you realize now in hindsight.
Totally. So, like you said, I grew up in Albany, New York. I'm the middle of 5 kids, 4 girls and a boy. And it's funny because, as I'm an adult and not there anymore and living my own life, I'm realizing that having that many kids seems to be a rarity. I feel like I don't come across that too much. But so I was born to my parents in 1990. They both came from religious backgrounds. So when they went to have their own children, that was the map that they had. They also, like me, sense like God, so to speak, Christian God, was so at the forefront. That was the focus. So things that might be ideal in bringing up a child, namely like tenderness and compassion. That kind of stuff wasn't around too much. And I think for listeners or viewers that might have grown up in a more fundamentalist sort of setting, you might know that a lot of that is fear-based and control-based. So as opposed to, these are the rules because XYZ, it's just these are the rules. So you don't get many explanations You just get hard and fast. So with all of that, and something that I want to be very careful about here is not bashing my parents. I've been on my own journey of many waves of feeling, righteous, of course, righteous. It is righteous anger. Righteous anger, resentment, even in my early 20s, like even having thoughts of like, should I stay connected to my family? But in my mid 20s, I had this revelation that essentially it's all generational trauma. And that if, if my parents didn't consciously sit down and choose the way that they raised us, like they were products of their own backgrounds, and they continued the cycle with me. And when I realized that, that lack of warmth wasn't really personal, like it kind of shifted my thinking, and it freed me up. So I don't know if that's too much of a tangent, but yeah, so that's a little bit about it.
That's a beautiful tangent, and it's actually quite profound. So thank you for sharing that and honoring your parents. Speaking from my own experience, my parents, in the way that they were raised, passed on generational trauma, which created challenges for me. And I think it's quite astute and very wise of you to sort of call out that, through those challenges, you want to be cognizant to not be resentful, because you're being empathetic, and you realize, how they're a product of their own environment.
Absolutely.
As we seek to delve a little bit deeper into that, one of the things when we were talking before, that you said that, resonated very deeply with me, was you mentioned that at a very young age, you had this belief that there was something wrong with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's very powerful.
Yeah.
Speak to us a little bit about
that.
Where did that come from? How old were you?
Yeah, sure.
How did it potentially connect to your father? Go ahead.
Yeah, oh, totally. So this kind of stuff, it is for me, really profound, and pivotal stuff, for me, and like my own emotional development, and also a breakdown and whatnot. So as one might expect, in a fundamentalist sort of setting, conformity is expected. I grew up in the Evangelical Christian Church. Maybe some people are familiar with it to some degree. Being out here in California now, as long as I've been, I find that I am definitely usually the only person in my social circles who was not allowed to celebrate Halloween as a child, like things like that. Yes, like conformity is expected. Questioning is not really encouraged. One experience that I had, and this was slightly older, I was probably like 12, although I started having these thoughts that I was, quote, bad, probably from the time I was in like preschool. Wow. But when I was like 12, I was at a Sunday school lesson, and, I went to church every Sunday, from the time I was like born, conceived, because my mom was probably at church when she was pregnant for me, I'm going to guess. From there until I was 18, because when I was 18, I was finally given the choice to stop attending church. That was how long I had to go. But when I was probably in 6th grade, I was in a
Mm-hmm.
Sunday school lesson, and the teacher was teaching some Bible lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And I raised, at the end of the lesson, I raised my hand to ask a question about it. And
Yeah.
the Sunday school teacher looked at me super seriously, and he was holding a Bible in his hand. And he said, you asking me that question is the same as me doing this. And he took the Bible and he chucked it like full force against the wall. And he did this in front of everybody else, made an example of me. And I like really in that moment, like internalized, like, oh my gosh, like here I go again, like making the adults around me super angry. And like having cause to believe that my personality or, the things I speak up about cause problems. And so that's an example of that. But, from a young age, I've been, a singer, a talker, a big talker. And I guess, kind of marching to the beat of my own drum, so to say. And like church, the only thing I really liked about it, frankly, was the worship service. There was something powerful about being with a huge group of people and singing. That was something I really liked. But yeah, ever since I was, I don't know, a young kid, I feel like I had like, especially with being gay, like when I was like 8 years old, my parents found my journal where I was like writing about how I thought a girl in my class was pretty and how I wished I could sit next to her and talk to her. And my parents like took me and found it and like took me into the yard and told me like, you will marry a guy one day. It's okay to be friends with girls. So like just things would come up throughout my childhood that had me thinking that I was on the wrong track.
Yeah.
Or disappointing. Yeah, like and this is like what I'm about to say. I didn't really realize like how indicative this was of trauma until I was much older. But when I was a super young kid, but like probably from talking age, so like 3 to 5, when you're first starting to get conversational more so or whatever, I was constantly asking my parents if I was being good. And all the time. Am I being good? Am I being good? Am I being good? Am I being and like and I grew up, with my family, like kind of making a joke about it, being like, oh, that was funny, like you always did that. And it took me a long time to like realize that I was doing that because I was trying to get reassurance that like I wasn't bad. And it like shows like how much from a young age I had really internalized that, that I wasn't good. And when I say good, I don't even just mean well behaved, I mean like a good person. So I had doubts about that and feelings about that from the time I was like an older toddler.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is deep.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your vulnerability.
Yeah.
And sharing that. That's
totally.
That's profound. And it just goes to show at how young of an age we can be molded as a result of just what we observe in others or how others treat us.
Absolutely. And
even before,
I was just going to say, gosh, I don't know how open I should be about this. Whatever, fuck it. This is an adult podcast, right?
Yeah.
It is my time of the month, so I'm feeling emotional. But there you go.
It's a
If you
beautiful
didn't,
moment.
if you didn't like that, too bad. Um, um, whatever. But when I think about, things like how we treat children, like I know something that we haven't said quite yet. I'm a children's music teacher. I sing for children and their families, and when I see like, oh my God, when I see moments of parents being so compassionate and understanding with their young children, my heart just like it swells in like a joyous way. But it also like aches because I think about like all the children that don't get treated that way. Like I see parents, like I feel, in my opinion, like an awesome parent is to a child, and I guess I'm thinking of a young child because
Yeah.
I work with young children. Um, an ideal parent would be like a guide to a child and in the
Mm,
world, like you're brand new, like, I'm going to help you navigate situations. I'm going to ask you how you feel about things. I'm going to
mm,
get you to familiarize yourself with what it's like to be someone with emotions and let you
mm,
know that they're all valid and that I'm here for you to support you. Like when I see that kind of stuff, I'm just like so overcome, in both directions, like I was
mm.
mentioning. Um, so yeah, that was just a little side note about, yeah, just like I don't have children, but seeing that kind of stuff, there are little parts of me that feel like minutely envious,
Mm,
when I see that kind of stuff. But I also am
mm.
obviously so happy for those kids. So.
Of course. And I would
Mhm.
argue that in a lot of ways, you are a parent to your children, your students.
I, I feel
Like
that.
it
I
takes a
feel that.
village, and you are part of that village raising them.
I feel
So,
that.
yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, earlier in the conversation, you mentioned how, you sort of grappled with your family on the topic of your sexuality and being gay, and
Yes.
how, that was an especially pivotal moment for you as you came out to them and then left the church at the age of 18.
Yeah.
Um, could we spend a little bit of time trying to understand how, once you left the church,
Hmm.
and the whole value system around it and what was tied to your family as a result, because the church is an extension of your family,
Yeah.
how that impacted the relationships that you sought out and the new value system that you forged around your
Totally.
relationships.
This is a cool topic to think about. So I came out when I was 17. I came out when I had only like 2 weeks left of being 17.
Mm,
So I came out right before my 18th birthday. I was in my senior year of high school,
mm-hmm,
and I was pretty scared. I like didn't really have the guts to just tell my family verbally.
mm-hmm.
So I wrote them a letter and I like left it in their bedroom. And then I, like a true lesbian, went to my rugby match. Hello, like figure it out. And but then, I like the summer. So like, yeah, like I said, it came out in June in New York. That's when the school year ends. And so I had this whole summer before I went away to college, because I went away to college like 3 hours away.
Okay.
And I had this whole summer of being out to my parents, but
Mm,
still living with them, and
mm,
them being like disapproved, does not even like begin to touch on it. Like I would say that this summer I had with them was like Obviously the impetus for me not being a Christian anymore.
Really?
Oh
Wow.
yeah, like if somebody is going to use like the religion you believe in as a like, and again, I was brainwashed, not gonna lie. I was definitely brainwashed as like a teenager. I went through maybe like 2 years of calling myself like a believer. You know
Mm,
what? Like, as a kid, it was more just like, this is what we do. We go to church on Sundays, and but I did get into a point in like early high school where I like was like, hell yeah, Jesus, hell yeah. And
yeah.
I was really into it. Um, but then when I came out and my parents used the Bible and God as like their whole basis for not being cool with it. And I was just like, okay, like the only reason this isn't okay with you guys is because of Christianity.
Mm,
And so yeah, I opted out of going to church
mm-hmm.
when I turned 18. Like I said, that was only like 2 weeks after I came out. So you can imagine how shitty those 2 Sundays were where I was out to my family and still had to go to church. I
Wow.
basically I basically just watched my mom like sob at church over me and just like pray that I would be healed. Like it was the most like mind fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like to see your mother and your father like grieving over you like you were dead or like you had
Wow.
cancer. And like yeah, that whole summer was just watching my parents grieve um and so when I'm and again to go back to the earlier theme, like at that point, I did come out, but when I saw the turmoil that I seemed to be causing, yes, that's not correct. Of course, that's not what was happening, but like at that time, it was like, I'm the one doing this. Like, look,
Yeah.
I'm bad again. Here's my bad self,
Yeah.
causing my parents to be so sad, and so that summer, like for me, obviously nail in the coffin with being a Christian, and then it was like, well, when I go away to college, which was going to happen in like 3 months,
Mm,
I went to SUNY Oswego. It's a state school in upstate New York.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm gonna find gay friends. I had a couple gay friends, but I really wanted to find more folks that I could relate to, so that I could feel a sense of community.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. I was so excited to get away. And so, yeah, once I went away to school, I was like, I want to be friends with people that are themselves. I want to be friends with people that are authentic. I want to be
Mm,
friends with people that will talk about experiences with me or talk about girls with me or,
mm,
whatever. And so, yeah, that whole experience, like, something I said to my therapist once years ago, like, there's nothing like being rejected or being suppressed, to really foster a sense of like yearning for authenticity and yearning for freedom and exploration. Like when you're held back like that, like you just itch for liberation.
yeah.
Um, and so yeah, like I mean, I've I don't know, I've always been me and authentically me, but I feel like when I went through that battle of
Mm,
like being told that who I was wrong,
yeah.
that was just an impetus to be like, you know what, I got to be myself all the way. I have to fight for myself. Like it really
Yeah.
made me develop this sense of self advocacy, and I know that different people might react differently to being rejected by their families.
Yeah.
But and my family and I have a great relationship now, thank goodness. And we've been through a lot to get there.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
And so like as you have your newfound freedom and you're exploring different relationships, you called yourself a serial monogamist.
yeah.
How did you lose yourself, your identity in those relationships?
Oh God, this is bleak. And I bet a lot of people that are going to hear this and are hearing this will be able to relate in some capacity. Right?
Of course.
I mean, I'm in my early 30s. I know so many of us have, had the serial monogamy thing going on. But this, maybe perhaps you, dear listener, have not realized, exactly why you went that route.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, again, through therapy, I realized that I was doing that. I was going from person to person to person to person, and staying in relationships that were miserable, that I was not fulfilled in, that I was not happy in. Essentially, I was seeking a person to be my parent. I was seeking a person to nurture me in the ways that I didn't receive, due to my upbringing and due to the fact that, like you said, it was much more about, my upbringing was much more about authoritarianism and this is how we do things, and if you break the rules, blah, and not much affection and warmth, and compassion going on. So yeah, once I I guess became an adult, so to speak. I mean, from the age of 17 to 28, yeah, I was desperately seeking somebody to fill those voids for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that that's what I was doing until I sought therapy when I was 28.
Wow.
And
thank you.
Yeah, totally. And touching on the latter part of your prompt about losing yourself. So yeah, I think, this is all that great word, codependency, that a lot of us probably have familiarity with.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, losing yourself, just in pursuit of affirmation and validation, and putting your own individual needs, your own individual happiness, and all those things go on the furthest back burner, the very furthest one, and as long as the pot on the front burner of somebody's telling me I'm worthwhile has a centimeter of water in it, then you're I'm okay. So yeah, that's where I was for a very long time. Just believing well, my parents didn't fill these voids in me of affirmation and validation, so I'm going to go seek that. And my natural route, I guess, that I went was I'm going to seek this through romance. That's where I'm going to get it. And again, 5, 6 girlfriends, and ending the same way every time, me foolishly believing that the next one would finally do it. But yeah, not until I was 28 did I realize that, for me at least, I don't want to say it's a universal rule. I don't want to tell everybody. For me at least, I wasn't going to heal until I filled those voids.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's, you've brought up therapy a few times, and there was a pivotal moment, probably the most powerful moment of your life, a turning point. So in however much detail you care to share,
sure,
please paint a picture of that day where your life changed forever? And we can start.
Yeah, the bad moment. Yeah. So,
Mm.
okay. So the bad moment happened on St. Patrick's Day of 2017.
Mm.
And I was at like an after hours party, like in some warehouse DIY club kind of thing in LA.
Mm.
And I was with my current girlfriend at the time,
Mm.
which would be the last relationship that I've ever been in to this day.
Mm.
And was, repeating that cycle that I was talking about with this person. And we were at this party, and someone, random person, as it often can be, offered us what he told us was some uppers. And I was like, yeah, cool. And, looking back, and furthermore, lesson learned, I'm done taking anything from people I don't know.
Mm.
Let's not do that. Or at least me, I'm not gonna do that.
Mm.
But I took it, and within minutes I was like vomiting like uncontrollably. My vision was super skewed. My legs were like giving out. I couldn't walk straight.
Mm.
I needed like someone to hold me up. And I was having just like this violent, horrible reaction. And and this sounds like almost like it couldn't be real. Like, even when I think about it, it
Mm.
sounds like something like from a movie. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like this could really happen. Um, but from that moment until for over a year,
Mm.
after that moment, I experienced, I guess, what I would call, what my boy Carl Jung calls,
Mm.
the dark night of the soul. Basically, my soul, or my essence, whatever you want to call it, your essence, your
Mm.
personality. I became like a shell of a human
Mm.
being. I was just, and it's crazy. It lasted for over a year. And like scientifically speaking, I'm not really sure what happened. Like I don't know if like my part of my brain that produces happiness chemicals was like
Mm.
disabled, or if it was like fried, or if it shut down. But yeah, very social person, generally very optimistic. I just lost all desire to eat, to talk to people.
Mm.
I couldn't get out of bed. I was just like very, very, and very suddenly,
Mm.
severely and dangerously depressed. And who I am was hijacked from me. It
Mm.
was just like what sucked out of me. And yeah, and I remained that shell version of me for over a year after that happened. And I can't even begin to tell you how worried I was that it was never going to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really like petrified. And I was having like really intense suicidal ideations, and like actual like visions of ending my life. I mean, at the time I was a preschool teacher, and I went from being like like super jolly teacher, leading her kids and singing with them, and
Mm.
in a line, and like being so fun and having all of that, and then suddenly like all the little 4-year-olds were so worried about me.
Mm.
They were just like, what happened to you, Miss Sarah Jane? You're so sad now.
Mm.
And it was, yeah, I say this every time I tell someone this story, I would not wish like what happened to me on anyone. Like I think that it's much too intense of a punishment for anything. Nobody deserves to feel like they've died, but they're like still alive in like this 1% of a body way.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what happened. And yeah, I wouldn't get out of feeling that way for yeah, over a year. And every day I would just wake up and say like, if this lasts another day, I can't keep going.
Mm,
Yeah, my light had totally been like extinguished for that amount of time.
yeah. You
Mhm.
know, when I had my mental breakdown, it took me a few months to get my ass to therapy. And I was quite taken aback when we were chatting
Hmm.
that you waited
So
a
long.
year, over a
Mhm.
year. Can you
Yeah.
help us understand what was it about what you were experiencing, despite people around you telling you that created that struggle, which kept you from it? Because I think that would resonate with a lot of people.
So what exactly are you asking?
Yeah, so what was some of the resistance to what
Oh,
made you start therapy more than a year or a year after you experienced such a traumatic?
that's a hard question. And usually questions aren't hard for me. um, so I guess, okay, so I wouldn't start to like feel at least a little bit better
Mm-hmm.
until I would say something like maybe a little bit over a year to a year and a half after that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I, I don't know, like maybe it was like this. I mean, like I said, okay, so apart from the whole evangelical thing, my dad, and he still says this to this day, like, and I kind of just think it's a human thing.
Yeah.
But he says that he witnessed this in a lot of his family members, like it's an Irish thing. You don't air your dirty laundry. Like you suffer inside and you don't talk about it, and you just like fight your battles internally and you don't talk about the ugly stuff. And like maybe that was part of it. After hearing that for so long.
The
And
values around that. Hmm.
yeah, and furthermore, I mean, I struggled a lot in my 20s with stability, like not just in the
Hmm.
relationship realm, but job security.
Yeah.
I have a big authority complex. I got fired a lot for speaking up, and things like that. I think I've always had this kind of like survivalist,
Hmm.
like very kind of independent mentality when it comes to like
Hmm.
making it through struggles.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I probably had internalized some of the like, well, we're not gonna drag other people into this. You're just gonna
Hmm.
get through it like you got through like living and working in a hostel for free. Like you just like you got
Hmm.
through that, or like just like you got away from the crazy meth head who like stole your rent money and didn't tell you. Like all I could just have a whole podcast about all the misadventures. And that is
Hmm.
something I've actually thought about doing. Like,
Hmm.
or just like you got through the time being accused of being a prostitute in Fresno and people calling the cops on you. Like you're just gonna get through it. So I think that was probably part of it. Like it's crazy to think that like even though people around me were saying like, yeah, you need therapy, like it's pretty clear that you're struggling, you're in a really bad place. like it is pretty crazy that I didn't really at any point say like, you know what, I'm gonna. Like I would hear those things from people and say like, you know, they're right. Like people that care about me wouldn't just say this.
Mhm.
Like yeah, they're right. But yeah, I don't know. I think I just had some kind of subconscious resistance to the notion of seeking help like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
I can tell you, considering the stigma around, seeking um, mental health support, that it stopped me,
Hmm.
a lot of times as well. And as a society, as we get, as our intelligence quotient and as we get more emotionally intelligent, this is
Totally.
something we're overcoming. But
Totally.
I think conversations like this are an important part of sort of helping us get over this mentality that, there's something, permanently wrong with you if you decide to
Yes.
seek therapy.
Or that like you're, you know, you're weak or you're like officially nuts if you need help or something like that. Like, no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So, you started therapy,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, when I was 28, I
yeah,
started therapy very, very shortly after moving to the Bay Area.
yeah,
Yeah, I moved here in 2018 from Los
yeah,
Angeles after being in Los Angeles for a while. Um,
yeah.
and like I got here, I moved here because of that relationship I was talking about, and you know, just as it would be, we broke up within like a month of me moving here. I didn't know anybody here. I moved here to be with her. Um,
Mm,
and I was like, well, great. I don't have any kind of community.
mm,
I don't have a job yet. I have like pretty little money saved. And but right before moving out of her house, I remember the day I finally was like, you know, like after resisting, after like kind of quietly, subconsciously denying the fact within myself that I really needed help. Um, yeah, I remember the exact day, like, you know, not the date, but I can vividly remember. I mean, I'm assuming it would have been in like the spring of 2018.
mm,
My girlfriend and I had already broken up.
mm,
I was living with her. She was like, you got to get out of here. We were in a really bad place. I mean, as we had been for a while. And, you
mm,
know, as you do at the end of a relationship, a lot of the time you try to work things out. But like, you know, if it's done kind of thing.
mm,
And I remember just like she was at work. I was in her bedroom. I was on her bed. And I was at a point of, you know, still in this time of this horrid shell year I was talking about.
mm,
And I was in such a way that I wasn't eating.
mm,
I in my life, I would go through periods of losing a ton of weight just because of not eating due to my emotional state. And I just remember being there on her bed and like being in like fetal position and like holding my head and like yelling and screaming because my head hurt so bad because I had like a serious migraine because I was starving.
mm,
And like, and it's something about that moment, like, I could eat, you know, like, but I didn't want to. Like, I was just in such a way.
mm,
And in that moment of like pain, I was just like something clicked inside of my brain and I was like, I need help. It's official. I am at a point where I like cannot not have help. I need help. Um
mm,
and yeah, and in that exact moment, like tears and a mess just like going on Google and like desperately seeking like any, sliding scale therapist in the East Bay that I could possibly find, and like making a list of them and calling them, and in that exact moment, and like telling person after person who answered the phone, like very briefly what was happening to me. And then I think finally, like maybe after making like 5 or 6 calls, I found something I could afford, and it was in Oakland, and I was like, okay, like this is it. And I started attending therapy with someone in that therapy group that I found. And really quick, I just have to say, I have a number of friends that attend therapy. And when I hear how much they pay, I'm just like, thank the universe or whatever, that at that time where I needed help so desperately, that I was able to find a sliding scale option, because I was not in a position to pay $120 a session,
Wow.
or more, or the rates I hear my friends pay, even almost 200. It's just like I found a therapist who would see me for $20 a session. And that was massive for me at that time. And so yeah, I started going to therapy in the spring of 2018.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, when we were talking, as pivotal and monumental as therapy has been in your life,
Yes.
you actually credit acupuncture with saving your life. So
I do.
help us understand, how did acupuncture come up for you, and what was revealed as a result of acupuncture that changed your like in your healing journey
Yeah.
in a
So
massive way?
absolutely. So okay, so at this point I'm about to describe, I had been in therapy for a year. So this was spring, like winter, spring 2019, and my therapist and I had, as you might imagine, worked through a lot of childhood stuff, and talked about a lot of strategies. That the big thing from therapy that I want to credit that I learned was this concept of reparenting. And that was the big takeaway that I got from talk therapy. And essentially what that is, kind of what I alluded to earlier, is you yourself becoming the parent you never had. No, like no longer looking for other people to do that for you, which was why I was in that very long series of codependent relationships. But yeah, reparenting was what I learned from therapy. So I developed this one really cool thing, and I promise I'm going to get to what you were saying. I just think this will help.
No worries.
I just think this will help encompass everything. So I learned this really cool technique. I still use it. I've been using it now for 4 years. I have a picture of myself when I was 8, and it's in my bathroom, like on my mirror. And every day I talk to her and tell her the things that she really needed to hear as a child. And so, not only do you parent your inner child, but you also parent your present self. So it's really a way to like learn to be on your own team. And being on my own team was something that I never was until I was like 28. So, but at that point, maybe a year into therapy, my therapist said, I can tell that talking to me is really helping you, but I also see that you're still really struggling emotionally and mentally. And at this point that I'm talking about, my like long-term consistent depression
Mm,
had graduated into manic depression.
mhm,
So I went from having like a solid year of just basically thinking about wanting to end my life every day,
mm,
um,
yeah.
to alternating between that and feeling like Sailor fucking Moon.
Mhm,
You know.
mhm,
Yeah, and like just like I can do anything. I'm so powerful, and I was just on this super unpredictable teeter-totter of going between those two things at this point. And my therapist said, like, I don't know who you're gonna be when you come to see me.
mhm,
You've been seeing me for a year, and that's how it is. And you know, she like kind of didn't say this like totally like what's the word I'm looking for? Whatever. She didn't exactly say this, but she like hinted at it.
yeah.
She basically hinted at the fact that she thought I should see a psychiatrist
Mm,
and go on medication. And, I said this to you when we initially talked. Um, this is not at all, to shame or put down anyone that goes the route of pharmaceuticals to address mental and emotional issues. Frankly, I know, and you do too, how horrific being in emotional hell can be. So
mm,
by all means, whatever it is that gets you out, thank goodness. Um,
mhm,
but something at that time for me and something inside of me, when she said that to me, my first thought when I walked out of that therapy session, because basically what she said was, you need to do something else.
mhm,
And like hint, like just talking to me is not gonna like get you out of this state of anguish
mhm,
that you're seem to be really stuck in.
mm,
Um, you need to do something else. And I remember walking out of that appointment just feeling like, okay, I'm a failure. I
mm,
finally went to therapy. I finally did the thing that I desperately needed to do, and I'm still not better, better.
mm,
I'm
yeah.
still not fixed. And this person that I have developed a relationship with and who now knows me very well is telling me in honesty that she thinks I need to go on a prescription medicine. And and then the next thing I said to myself was, well, I don't know why I'm having this feeling, but my gut is telling me that I do not want to do that.
Mm,
That I, of course, I need to do something else, but I want to go a different route.
mm,
And at this time, and again, everything happens for a reason. I got really into like kind of astrology, and I got into reading about psychology,
mhm,
and I got into like mystic psychology, like stuff like Carl Jung.
mm,
And I was reading this book, um, relating. It's like, and I have it. I don't think I see it right here. I know the author's last name is Green,
mhm,
Greene.
mm,
It's called Relating, and it's like a book about relationships and astrology and stuff like that. And so I was
okay.
reading it, and she mentioned acupuncture in it.
Mm,
And I like looked up from the book, and again, this was like right after I had been told all that by my therapist. And I like looked up from the book and I was like, I've heard of that. I don't really
mm,
know anything about it. All I know is it involves needles, and yeah, that's pretty much all I know. And so but something in me was like, and thank goodness. something in me was like, I kind of want to like look up and see if acupuncture has any effectiveness with emotional issues and things like anxiety and depression. And so I like put down the book and I went online and I just searched like, I don't know, does acupuncture help with emotional issues, or does
Mm-hmm.
acupuncture help alleviate depression? And I saw results that said it does,
Mm-hmm.
or that it can.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that moment, I was like, okay, like this is something that I can go do. This is maybe the other thing I can go do that my therapist had been saying, like, you need to do something else. And so
Mm-hmm.
I live in Berkeley. At the time I did also, and I looked up like local acupuncture, and I found the Berkeley Acupuncture Project.
Mm.
At the moment now, they had to move their location, but now they're in Albany.
Yeah.
But at the time, they were in downtown Berkeley, and I made an appointment online, and I went in, and again, I was very much still in this manic depression place.
Yeah.
And I went on a day that I was in the depression. And when I say depression, I mean I've met people that have had underlying depression that they can like still kind of live day to day, whatever. Like this was like, like the crippling kind that like
Mm.
impedes your ability to like function very well. And I remember going in there and they must have been like, whoa, Nelly, because I just like broke down and was just like basically told them exactly where I was and what I was dealing with. And the acupuncturist, after talking to me or after me telling them what I needed, was basically like, okay, from what we hear, um, your nervous system is like dialed up to like level 1 million.
Mm.
And we're going to start acupuncture treatments to dial it like way down.
Mm.
Um, so like it seemed like they were telling me that like my nervous system was like operating at a super high, vigilant, super active level.
Mm-hmm.
And when they said that to me, I was just like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And likely it had been like that for my whole life. Like, growing up in an environment where I was, fearful of being punished, fearful of being told I was bad, like constantly like bracing for the next time that I would be a disappointment. You know, so when they said that to me, I was like, whoa, like I think they really might have just hit like a pretty central point there.
Mm.
And that had never even occurred to me. And so what they told me was, based on the situation that we're hearing from you, we're going to begin like, quote, intensive therapy, which means for
Mm.
like 3 weeks, you're going to come twice a week.
Mm.
And we're going to see what that does. And I had never been to acupuncture before. And after only, let's see, it was 3 sessions. After
Mm.
only 3 sessions, I remember I had never experienced this before. What I'm going to tell you, like I walked out of the clinic and I remember looking across the street, and the only thing that I was thinking about was what I was seeing.
Mm.
In essence, it was the first time in my life that I experienced presence.
Mm.
I had never felt the sensation of like the only thing on your mind being what your senses are in that moment taking in,
Mm.
of there being no preoccupation and mental static and noise and worry and concern like brewing through your brain. Like it made me realize that in my life I had become very, very, very accustomed to living that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't even realized that I had adapted to having a brain that operated like that. And I proceeded after that, after I saw, oh my God, I've only had 3 sessions and I had this moment, like this is doing something. I went to acupuncture for a year, once a week, and I can't even, I became a different person. I can't, I had never been in the moment. Like I had always been, fearful or like lamenting the past or like anxious about where my next source of love and validation would come from, or lamenting the fact that I couldn't do that for myself, and just so wrapped up in anguish all the time and anxiety and worry. And I just cannot believe what it did for me. And whenever I hear anybody, talk about problems with anxiety or depression, I'm just like a poster child, and I'm like, please try acupuncture. I know it maybe, especially in the Western world, like we might dismiss it as like a woo-woo, like weird thing. And I've definitely had people make fun of it. I've had people like, oh yeah, like Sarah, Sarah Jane will just say, go get some acupuncture and you're all fixed, ha ha ha, like kind of thing. And I'm like, look, you can say what you want, but like it saved my soul. It saved my brain. It saved my brain, like at the forefront. It saved my brain. My brain was like absolutely on fire beyond description. I felt like I was not in control of it whatsoever. I was at the mercy of my mind. And to go from that to presence, I swear, like I would have that. I think that in my life, I've learned like self-love and presence. Those are the most invaluable, priceless things. I would pick having those over any material thing ever. Yeah.
Wow. I'm actually right. I'm taking notes. Self-love and presence, the most valuable over any material thing.
Yes.
This was so powerful. And, one thing that as you were sharing, that I feel moved to share with our audiences, when we talk about getting out of your comfort zone, there's this perception that your comfort zone is comfortable.
Yeah.
And that is not always the case.
Yeah, it's often just familiar.
Exactly. And oftentimes, true comfort awaits us when we make the decision or we're forced to seek the comfort. In your case, your brain being like it was in a vice grip, or you feeling rejected from your therapist and feeling like, wow, am I a lost cause? Because even therapy can't help me.
Right. Like throughout your whole life being told like, you're wrong, you're bad, at least my experience. And it's like, great. Now even the therapist is it was just like,
Yeah. And we don't have to wait till that point. We have the power to choose, to decide, to explore on our own and then discover, right? So I cannot thank you enough, Sarah Jane. You are a very powerful person, considering all that you've experienced, and what a true inspiration you are to all of us. And thank you for being so outspoken.
That's not something to thank me for. That is a natural thing, whether you thank me or not. I'm doing it. But you are so very welcome, of course.
And on that note, I want to thank our audience for their presence here and now. May today's episode move you and help you discover parts of yourself previously unknown.
Yes.
And
one other thing
yeah, go
that I
ahead.
would really like to say,
Yeah,
kind of to wrap it up for me, like,
yeah.
at that time when I was at my worst, I was saying to myself over and over again, I desperately, like, I want to be who I once was.
Yeah.
And I was hoping for that every day. Like, please let me go back to the way I wanted to be, or excuse me, to the way I was. Please let me go back to the way I was. But let me say that, like, I didn't want to, little did I know that going back to the way I was certainly not in my best interest.
Mm,
Little did I know that beyond all of that struggle, I would become the version of me that was the most optimal version of me. So,
mm-hmm.
like, I didn't, it wasn't about going back to the way I was. It was about becoming the best me I had ever been. So, like, everybody out there, like, whatever you're going through, like, when you come out the other side, you're going to be stronger. You're going to be stronger. It's not about returning to how you were prior to the issues and prior to the pain. Like, when you're through all of that, like, you're better equipped, you're stronger, like, your best self waits on the other side of that.
Yeah, because we're all on this journey to grow into our full potential.
Absolutely.
And as we do that, we leave our past selves behind. Thank you so much for making it a point to
Yeah,
share that, because I think
totally.
it's so important. And you've inspired me to bring up one other thing from
Yeah.
our conversation, the story of your shirt, right? Um, the
Oh,
shirt,
the shirt that
yeah,
I was talking about. Um,
uh-huh.
gosh,
When you were wishing you were dead.
yeah. So part of me wonders. I'm like, oh, like, I know it's in my dresser. Because I'm like, I want to hold it up. But it-
It's
but but
okay.
it, but at the same time, I have a number of tan shirts, and I'm just like, which one? Um, but it's a shirt that has, like, flowers around these words, and again, verbatim, I'm not sure exactly what it says, but it says
I
something.
remember.
It's something like,
It
it's
won't always be this bad.
right, 100%. And I remember being, like, on the other side of this journey, and having, went through a lot of healing, and, like,
Mm,
seeing that shirt, I was just like, I have to have that shirt, because if I had seen that when I was at my worst, that would have been like the biggest beacon of, like encouragement, because I like really thought that I was, like, damned to, like, just be in this, like you said, like, this vice grip. I really didn't know if I was ever going to get out, and I saw that, and I was just like, if I could be that for someone else that's, like, going through a really hard time, like, that would be wonderful. And so, yeah, I got the shirt, and yeah, it just goes to show that, like, you never know the things you do, the things you say, the messages that you broadcast could really, really alter someone's life and someone's mentality.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, on that note, we shall say goodbye and love and light to our audience and
Yes.
to you, Sarah Jane.
Same to you. And thank you, everyone, so much for listening. And thank you so much for having me. So, so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Get Out of Your Comfort Zone series. I hope it moved you and inspired you if you are feeling stuck with something in your life. If you would like to further connect with our guest, please see their contact in the description. Please consider taking a moment to rate this podcast. Please also consider showing us some love on your Instagram story. You can find our info in the episode description. Until the next episode, I wish you infinite love and light. Thank you so much for tuning in.